What's up, everybody? Hope everybody is having a great day. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and and put a slide title for us because I told you about some days ago that I got in these really demanding reviews, and today I finally worked out the courage to read them. And I learned like one thing. The one key thing from my harsh one key thing that I learned from my harsh reviews. So these are reviews that I got from a very top journal on a paper, and I just skimmed them when I got them. It's as usual a very high risk revise and resubmit. Welcome to my life, publishing in top journals. And first thing first. I mean, literally the data got this paper to revise and resubmit. The editorial team said, there's no theoretical contribution here, not even announced, but there is, but the data is beautiful. Data is beautiful. And these, my friends, is data from a master's thesis. Okay? Data from a master's thesis from one of my students. Now, this is what I learned. Okay, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I do want to talk a little bit about the reviews later, but if you're just watching this for the punchline, here it is. What I learned is that unless you are, no, forget it. No claim. You should never write a critique based on the core statement of a theory. And that's what I did. So this review was mentally very challenging for me because in the main letter, the editor said that I made a straw argument out of a theory. And I thought, man, I've been doing this for like 20 years. I should be a better theorist than this, okay? And today I read the reviews. And what I found is that my writing strategy was to look at the core assumptions of this theory and say, you know what? This core assumption is wrong. And what I did is I developed a new model based on this core assumption. And what the reviewer said is that the core assumption is not wrong. That there are later studies that do address what I want to address in the paper. Now, what they don't do is they don't then use their findings and challenge this core assumption and revise it. But the research is out there. Okay? So, and all of the reviewers were really, had been worked on this literature for a long time. And they said, look, I mean, we know that we already sort of know what you're saying. There are studies that show what you're saying. They just don't then go back and revise the model. Okay? And what I learned is that the reviewers don't see a lot of value in revising the model because the insights are already there. So if somebody that knows the literature, they don't need to revise the model because they already sort of like implicitly revised it by reading this new research, okay? So I found that, there's very little value there, because although that work is missing, although the model has not been revised, there is enough research so that people are de facto working on a revised version of that model, although that revised version does not exist anymore. And you can say, well, it should exist, yes, but this is not a top journal contribution, okay? So what am I going to do? What I'm going to do is, I'm going to do two things. This is MIS quarterly piece. I'm going to look at that'll be my review strategy, and I'll report back in a week and will tell you my review strategy, tell you the outcome, what I'm going to do with the paper. But what I decided to do is, there are some hints about where this paper could go, what theory it could speak to, in the review letters. I'm going to look at those and take them seriously. But what I'm also going to do is, I'm going to go back to the two papers I published in MIS Quarterly, and I'm going to see what have I done to claim a theoretical contribution. And I'm going to do the same. And so I did think about this morning, and what I realized is that the way I'm challenging the model is not by changing the model itself, but by specifying a model alongside it, okay? So here's the example. In my 2013 paper, the dramaturgical production of performance data, I said there's this functional theory of IS, okay, and of the production of performance data, and I'm going to give you the dramaturgical model. Now, what I did in this paper that got this rough revise and resubmit was I said there's a functional model and I'm going to introduce dramaturgical variables into it. No, I need to do a model on the side, not change the model that is there, but do a model on the side. And this is not because this research is unfairly defensive. It is because that model has been already implicitly changed by existing research, okay? So that's what I learned. What I learned is that when I'm laying out a theoretical contribution, I should present a model on the side rather than claim that there are flaws in the existing model and change that existing model. It's a really important insight for me on what constitutes a theoretical contribution. I'm a little bit happier with the reviews than originally, because they are very positive. A lot about the data, but they recognize some good effort on the theory side. And I have to tell you, because yesterday I was reading the reviews from a smaller journal. These reviews from MIS Quarterly, they are such a high level. I may have been lucky, but these are just a pleasure to read. They do this, nuance literature review in a review letter, in a letter to review a submission. They do some of the reviewers do such a great job in framing this literature as, it's just amazing. And I feel so grateful to have these people look at my research and take it seriously. It's really such an honor. And I really enjoyed reading the reviews for their intellectual content. To read somebody who is deep in a specific literature explain it to you in a paragraph, it's just amazing. And that's why you need to submit to top journals, because the quality of the conversation with the review team And you know, I review for small journals, and maybe I'm also to blame for this. I try to be good, but you know, I mean, just it was just amazing. You know, it just made me remind. You know, there's this thing that I envy about old time academics, which is these academics that would write letters to one another on this, you know, fundamentals of theory. And I wish I could do that, but you know, but these reviewers did this to me. They, you know, they got a letter from me was a paper with my views, and they really engaged in them seriously, respectfully, engaged with them, and then they share with me their own views, and you know, I just like really, you know, it's really a great experience as an intellectual and as an academic to have this rich and you know, they hated the paper basically, no theoretical contribution, but you know, there's still such a rich exchange there. You know, maybe, you know, for their side it was just like, you know, didn't change the way they look at things, but at least they learned a new story, they learned a bit about a new bit of data. um, but I benefited so much, so it's really worth it to submit to these places. And you know, again, sometimes your data will give you at least a revise and resubmit, and a revise and resubmit, even if it gets rejected, you know, has you engage, has you playing this game at a very high level, right? And that's what we're here for, to really engage in intellectual exchange, in intellectual discourse, in intellectual work at the margins of our skill, at the margins of our skill. Not at the level we're good at the level we are barely capable of doing, because you know, that's really where the pleasure of intellectual work and academic work lies. Guys, this is it for today. I'm doing a little bit of self-care. You know, I mean, obviously reviews still hit hard, so I'm taking it a little bit easier today, but I'm really excited to jump into these reviews tomorrow. I hope you're doing great, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great time. Just say hi to Laura here before I end the video. And bye bye everybody and Laura. Thank you.